Welcome to Golden Nuggets, where truth and wisdom gets married and brings forth enlightenment. I want to speak to you today about motivation and the different ways that we are able to be motivated in life. Today, we will explore the internal and the external factors that are linked to motivation. So get your pen and your pad because you'll want to take notes today. It's time to evolve and elevate. I am Ezra, A.K.A. the voice of reason, over and out. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Golden Nuggets. If this is your first time joining me, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Today, we are going to be focusing on levels of motivation. And again, I'm going to bring you a bite-sized truth in moments of need. So let's get into this. And so we're talking about motivation here. And motivation is basically the reason for the actions or the willingness or the goals that we have, the things that we want to achieve in life. And it is derived from the word motive, which means, to have a need, a cause, or a purpose, which requires fulfillment. So my question for you today is, what is your motive? What are you motivated about? Where does your willingness and your actions come from? What goals have you made, whether it's health-wise, relationship-wise, business-wise? It's really important that we start to have intention and that we are able to identify what drives us, what motivates us, what gets us up each morning. Start to think about this. It's really important in terms of you having direction for where you want to go in life. And so motivation is something that can always be loaded. It can always be growing and developing, building up. And so where is your motivation level today? How motivated are you in achieving and doing those things that make you happy? Are you on the right course in your journey in life? Are you doing those things that actually motivate you? Where are you in terms of your level of motivation? And motivation can be identified by the incentive, the drive, and enthusiasm that you have in the things that you do. And we can look at people, you can probably look at people in your own life and you can see the things that they're motivated about. They don't need anyone to tell them. They don't need anyone to remind them. They just go for it because they have that drive and that enthusiasm and that incentive to achieve their goals. But what about you? Where are you in this equation? Because motivation is the process that initiates and directs and preserves goal-orientated behaviors. And so with whatever it is that you are seeking in your life, whether it's good health, whether it's a blessed relationship or marriage, whether it is to buy a house, to get a car, whether it is to be successful in your business, whatever it is, your motivation is what will get you there. And so it's important that we build it, we grow it, and we nurture it. Because motivation is just like brushing your teeth. We can't rely on yesterday to make it work for today. And so what are you doing to revive, to revitalize and refresh your motivation for today? And hopefully, this message will be your version of brushing your teeth today, internally, in terms of your motivation. So, it's important that we do understand that motivation involves a collection of things. It's biological, it's emotional, it's social, it's intellectual, it's environmental. All of these different forces can help to activate our behavior. And this is the reason why motivation levels can either peak or dip from time to time. It goes up and it goes down. It's like a seesaw, constantly going through different stages. Sometimes we're really committed and focused, and sometimes we're procrastinating and delaying. And the reason for that is because of all these different factors that contribute to it. So let me introduce you to Carl here. And Carl, at this present moment, is very motivated. And the reason why he's so motivated, as he's going to explain to us, he says, I exercise regularly. I practice mindfulness. I have a good job. I'm in a stable relationship. I feel confident in my abilities. And I love my new 2-bedroom house. Today is going to be great. He's attacking the day. He's motivated. But when we see just from that description he's given us, we see in terms of biologically, he's exercising, which is releasing those endorphins, those dopamine. He's feeling good. It's motivating to get up and do, to go on to the next task. We can see in terms of the emotional, he's practicing mindfulness. He's managing his emotions. His emotions are not managing him. And because he's been able to have thoughts and feelings without judging himself, he's been able to put things into perspective. It helps him to be able to overcome situations, to recognize that thoughts and feelings are not facts. In terms of social, he has a good job. He connects with his manager. He has colleagues that he can talk to and go to on lunch breaks with. You know, he's happy and stable in terms of his relationships. And, you know, he's, in terms of intellectual, he feels confident in himself, in his abilities. He's learning, he's growing, he's developing. And in terms of environmental, he's moved now into his 2-bedroom house. Before, he was in a place where there was a lot of noise and he didn't like the neighborhood, and it was impacting on his motivation. But now he's moved into that new 2-bedroom place and he's happy. And so he has all the factors in place that contributes to his motivation levels being high. And so the question I want to ask you is, in these areas, what part of this may be affecting your motivation? Is it the emotional? Is it the social? Are your relationships a bit frayed? Is things not going too well with your partner? Is it the intellectual? Do you feel out of your depth at work? Is it the environment, whether it's home or the workplace? What's going on for you? What may be impacting on your motivation levels that's causing them to dip? Or are you on a high? Are you excelling in all of these areas and you feel great and feel motivated like Carl? It's important that we understand what influences our motivation levels. And so, what can happen in life, depending on those areas we've just discussed and what's happening? We can see life in two ways. We can see it as impossible, can't achieve it, can't be done, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, fear, false evidence appearing real, the rats, reoccurring afflicted thoughts, all these things getting on top of us, trampling us, holding us bound and imprisoned in the thoughts and the narratives that we tell ourselves. Or we can switch and turn that block and we realize it's possible. You can do it. You are able. You are strong enough. You are confident. You are bold. You are capable. And so I want to ask you, where are you at today? In whatever the situation is, the circumstance is that made you click onto this video. Are you saying it's impossible, or are you saying it's possible? And so I want you to hopefully begin to believe it's possible. You can do it. You are strong enough. And you need to tell yourself that. You need to think that. You need to believe that for yourself. And just in case you are in a place where you're saying it's impossible, what caused that second block to turn over for you? Where you was thinking, I can do this, what was it? Was it a setback? Was it a failure? Was it something that someone told you? Is it that constant negative voice in your mind, repeating and repeating and wearing you down? And so I really want to encourage you today. And I want to remind you that there is something great within you, that when you tap into it, there is nothing that can hold you back. And I want you to believe in yourself. And I want to give you one of my secret nuggets that I say to myself every day. And this is something that I believe and I speak it into my life. And it is this: today I welcome peace, and peace welcomes me. And I want you to start to say that to yourself. And I want you to look in the mirror when you say that to yourself until you start believing it. Because once you start believing that, the universe will send the things into your life that will give you peace. So now I want to speak to you about the internal and the external motivators, because we can always be influenced, driven by either the internal or the external. So when we're talking about the internal, to be internally driven, this means to be inspired by the deep inner yearning or a greater purpose. This is when you are united with your why. This is when you are connected with your purpose. This is when you have a vision and an understanding of where you want to get to. This is very powerful. And this is one of the greatest sources of people staying motivated, even in the face of difficulties, hurdles, and barriers. And then we have the externally influenced area. And this speaks to when we are impacted by the stimulus of feelings and emotions. This is driven by things that come at us, things that hit us, things that are said to us. And as a result of that external influence, we are impacted by that. And that can change how we feel, how we think, and what we do. And so we have these two different areas. And it's important that we understand how they can influence us and how they can impact on our motivation. So before we do go into those in a bit more detail, I do want to highlight this very important point, that knowing your why is key to you achieving greatness. Because your why is what will pull you into your vision. It will pull you into your decisions. It will pull you into your purpose. And it will give you the strength to push past the pain, to push past failure, to push past setbacks. It's like a driving force that sets you on fire. It ignites your heart and brings clarity to your mind. When people know their why, they move differently. They don't do the things that's going to hinder them. They have the confidence to say no to those things that are not valuable to them. And so it's really important that you know your why. And if you don't, you start to search and find out, what really do I want? What really makes me feel good? What gets me up each morning? Because once you find that, that is your ticket to success. So, understanding motivation. So, the proactive, the internal influences. versus the reactive, the external, okay, being externally influenced. So let's look at this. See, when we are internally driven, when we have our why and our purpose and we understand what's going on, we become values driven. We make decisions based on our values, based on what's important to us, based on our purpose and our why. We are not easily led astray by the influence of others. We are not people pleasers. We do things based on our values, on our integrity, on our ethics and what we hold as important to us, regardless of what other people feel about it. Because we're values driven. Our GPS system is aligned. We focus on a higher calling. You recognize that sometimes you need to make a sacrifice for the greater higher calling. So that might mean not watching as much Netflix so you can get your purpose done. That might mean not partying so much so that you can focus on those things that are important to you. That can mean saying no to the junk food because you want to keep your body healthy and strong so you can live a long life. It's living and being governed by your purpose. It becomes your bodyguard and your security that keeps you from going into those wrong places, being around the wrong people, engaging in those futile conversations. It makes you operate out of your why, your purpose. It feeds into your sense of self-worth because you know you're doing something for a greater good and a greater cause. And that makes you feel good because you're never violating yourself. And it is often the deciding factor when making difficult choices because you know what you're doing is based on a greater purpose. And because you're values driven, you don't do it based on, will this person like me? Will this person not like me? You do it based on your greater goals, needs, and values. And so when we are internally driven, our life choices are completely different. Our focus is completely different. Our outcomes are completely different. And our motivation levels are completely different. So let's look at the reactive, the external, when we are externally influenced. And this involves being emotionally driven. So depending on how we're feeling and what's going on for us, determines the decisions we make. When we feel good emotionally, we tend to make good decisions. And when we feel bad emotionally, sad or angry or disappointed, then we deviate from what we should be doing. What happens when we are reactive is it focuses on the environment, it focuses on what's going on outside. And environments then dictate behaviors. And so sometimes we can be hot, sometimes we can be cold, sometimes we can be up, sometimes we can be down. Sometimes we can say, sod it, because of how we're feeling emotionally, and other times we can push through. But it's reactive. It's based on what's going on outside. And we can be reacting to the event or the problem. And so if someone says something you don't like, or something happens in the process that you don't like, or an event or situation, that can cause for us to sabotage ourselves. That can make us give up on things that's important to us. A word said can change the whole course of our life because our GPS system isn't aligned with our why and our purpose. Behaviors are influenced by feelings. How you feel is the deciding factor to what you do or don't do. And when we are externally influenced, it feeds into worry and anxiety. And it is often subjective to the importance and magnitude of the situation. And all of us have experienced it. All of us at some time has operated out of our external influence. And so, because a particular person said something or did something, we didn't react, we didn't respond. But when someone else says or does something who we may feel that we're stronger than, or we have more confidence, or we know more, then we will react and respond to it. And so it's really important that we understand. And don't get me wrong, we are never always proactive or reactive. But the question you have to ask yourself, which one are you the majority of the time? Which one are you at today? And what cost or benefit has it been bringing you with whatever one you've been operating out of? It's important we understand motivation. So I want to introduce you to the 80-20 principle, or what's also known as the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, which states that roughly 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes for many outcomes. So the 20% of effort that you put in brings about 80% of the results. Now, this is really interesting when we think about this, because what do you think you are spending most time on? Are you 80% of the time being internally driven and 20% of the time being externally influenced? Or is it vice versa? Because if you think about it, if you are externally influenced just 20% of the time, 80% of the problems that arise in your life are due to that 20%. So just think about it. If in those key moments in your life, you become externally influenced, when you're going for an interview, when you're meeting your parents, your partner's parents for the first time, if it's the first time you're engaging with someone that may be a business partner, if in these key moments, just 20% of the time, you are externally influenced and you're not doing the right things, that could cause 80% of the problems in your life. I worked in prisons for 12 and a half years. And do you know how much people, just because one moment in their life where they made a mistake, where they did the wrong thing, when they were externally influenced because of something someone said or something that someone did, and they were doing 5, 10, 15, 20 years in prison. It's important that we understand how being externally influenced can have a massive impact on our lives. Now, even in the case, if you are 80% externally influenced and 20% internally driven, that 20% has been what's contributed to all the good things in terms of your growth and your character and what's happened in your life. So I really want you to understand how important motivation is, but being internally driven is key. It's paramount. It's life-changing. So do make sure that you make a choice today in terms of how you are going to operate in your day-to-day life. And I hope you choose to be internally driven. Because when you are, this is where your moral compass is strong. This is where your GPS system is on point. This is where you make decisions that is in your best interest, because it's founded upon principles, upon morals, upon ethics. And this is where you will find consistency and accountability for yourself and what others will see in you. Because when we are externally influenced, and we're doing that too often, events can ignite or diminish your motivation. You are prone to be changing options, opinions, mindsets based on what's going on, based on how difficult it is, based on what people may think or say about you. And often decisions can be based on short-term gains because it's always about how you feel in the moment. And so I want you to take stock of this and be mindful going forwards. In every decision you're making, whatever's happening, what's making you make that decision? Are you internally driven or are you being externally influenced? So today is a new day, and every day is another opportunity to start afresh. And so my question is, what are you going to do today? I hope today that you've been motivated and that you are going to make some decisions in your life based on what you have just heard. And I hope that you've been able to reflect and look at what's been going on for you, to look at what's been happening and where you're at today. So you can start to make those shifts, those small shifts that can have a significant impact on your life. But it all starts with believing in yourself. Believing in yourself. And I hope today that you believe that you can and that you will do it. And that you are not saying it's impossible, but you're saying it's possible. And so if you found this useful, look at my YouTube channel for more videos dedicated to providing support, guidance, and information for you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it motivated you in some way. Leave a comment below and let me know one thing, one nugget that you will take away from this message. And share it with your friends and your loved ones who you know need to hear this message. And check out my channel for more videos dedicated to supporting, empowering, and motivating you to achieve your potential. And remember to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell because this is me calling you for our next one-to-one. So as always, stay blessed, remain grateful, and manifest your greatness.